Hello everybody and welcome back. It is good to talk to all of you again, and today I've got a carrier replay for all of you, and I sort of mentioned this yesterday in the Navy Field Beginner's Guide video at the end. I said that I do have a pretty good carrier replay to show all of you, and the big reason why I'm showing you this replay is because this is the first carrier battle I've had in, I would say, probably a good year maybe, where the opposing carrier was somebody who, first of all, I knew was really, really good, and second, the battle was just very, very, very tight, very close, and very difficult. This is a battle that I felt like I had to work for every single step of the way. So the enemy carrier is 199909, I think. Pretty sure that he used to be a dedicated carrier player on SEA, and think he's moved over to NA now. But anyways, on NA his stats are pretty insane. If I remember correctly, he's got like an 80+% win rate, most of that playing carriers. So I knew from the get-go that this was a battle that I would have to basically work really, really hard to try and win. So the first thing I want you to look at is, of course, the fact that he's divisioned with a Minotaur, and that Minotaur is also someone who knows exactly what to do on this particular map. Of course, we are playing Trap, and if you pay attention, that there was a patch of smoke right there. Inside that smoke is the Minotaur, and the Minotaur is a spec for sure. As you'll see that one of my fighters, basically just by going somewhere even remotely close to him, I've already lost 3 of my fighters. So from the very get-go, I knew that I was pretty much going to lose the fighter fight, and so I would just have to make every strike count and make sure that every strike I make, I hit the right targets and I do enough damage to even it out a little bit. The situation, of course, is if the Minotaur gets into that B cap, one of the big things that'll happen is that I'm basically going to be denied that area in terms of fighters, and it's going to be very, very hard for me to get in there to actually support my team and help them take the cap. So, you know, I do get my bombers around at the beginning, managed to catch out in Iowa, quickly drop my torpedoes, but you can tell that the minute I finish, there's the fighters, and he's just going to clean me out here with this strafe. So, yeah, already taking some pretty big losses. Again, I'm losing my fighters very, very quickly. I'm not able to really contest air with him, just because, like I mentioned, he's got that Minotaur in that very, very deadly position. The team, of course, has also decided to move towards A, which, not the world's best decision. I might have actually preferred potentially another AA cruiser to maybe have contested B along with their Minotaur, making it so that perhaps the center would have been a no-fly zone for both of us rather than a no-fly zone for only one of us. Still, trying to make the best of what I can, try to get a bomb hit in here, maybe try to start a fire. No joy, only managed to land 1 bomb hit for very little damage, and lose most of my dive bombers there as well. Continue to cycle out my fighters and torpedo bombers as quickly as possible, and I'm really looking for that next opportunity. All the while this is happening, because I know I flooded that Iowa, I'm pinging the Iowa on the map for my team, telling them to shoot at him, set that Iowa on fire so we can actually get one of those battleships down early. Okay, once again, I see that the Kagero on my team, he's in the center, he's pop smoke, so have to send fighters in there again, try to support him. Didn't manage to get that strafe off there, unfortunately. The torpedo bomber had actually disengaged just in time. See the position of the Minotaur right now? Look at that position. In that position, this Minotaur is, 1, he's safe from most incoming fire. He's got that smoke, he's got the island cover. 2, he is going to be able to shoot over the island. And 3, he's basically providing a giant no-fly zone. As long as his team ends up going in there and backing him up, there's very little that I can actually do at the B cap in this particular situation. So really what I'm trying to do is, you know, I'm trying to use my fighters to maybe buy my bombers as much time as I can. I'm trying to find the ships that aren't getting covered at that particular time by a fighter, by anything like that, and just to go in there and maybe quickly strike them out. Get in fast, try to get out as quickly as possible. Try my best to conserve what planes I can, but if I can't conserve them, oh well, it's okay right now. We really do need to make sure that we can at least make a decent push, take over the caps, and maybe sink as many of the enemy ships as possible. So once again, making another foray into the B cap area with my bombers and my fighters, Enemy has a fighter appear over there. Again, do keep in mind that in normal gameplay situations, I don't have all squadrons selected. Unfortunately, because of the way the replay is, there's no other way. If I do it the way where the camera follows everything around, the whole thing just becomes unwatchable. I was able to pick out the isolated gearing here, get my fighter in there initially to tangle with the enemy fighters. He does strafe out of it. I do manage to get the drop off, so I do bag myself this gearing. Again, he strafes out of my fighter. Again, this time he's able to pick off my retreating torpedo bombers. I lose a good number of them on the way out. Do manage to preserve a few, however. Of course, at the same time, he does get off a torpedo strike on my Zao. I was at the time just trying to preserve as many of my torpedo bombers as possible. Enemy CV is no joke. He is punishing me for every little small thing that I'm doing incorrectly. And, it has been a while since I've played a CV game, so it is definitely becoming a challenge at this particular stage. Again, we'll continue to struggle for that B cap. One of my division mates, he does make a push into the B cap. But again, take a look. I mean, there is the one enemy fighter. He's backed up by the Minotaur's AA. And I at most would have been able to strafe that fighter squadron, but yeah, my bombers are just getting shredded. Unfortunately, in this kind of a environment, yeah, it's just not really all that much fun as a carrier player. Your planes are just falling down left, right, and center. And there's really not that much you can do defensively as the carrier player. It's like every plane you have out there is just, there's random dice rolls. Maybe you lose them, maybe you don't to that AA, so yeah, just not that much fun, especially with really, really strong AA, especially on ships like the Minotaur. Once again, getting my torpedo bombers back up. As you can tell, I'm already out of all reserve fighters. I'm down to 6 fighters in total in 2 squadrons, one a squad of 2, one a squad of 4. Not much left in terms of fighters. Torpedo bombers, still relatively healthy, still have a decent reserve of them. Again, trying to pick out a spot that I can get in there and really do some damage. So looking around, trying to see what I'm able to do. Enemy team, as you can tell, has actually pushed really, really hard onto the B cap right now. They've actually done a very good job. They've gone ahead and they've backed up their Minotaur, and as you can tell, we just have no ability right now to push onto that cap. So for me, objective is, can I find some kind of gap where, potentially A cover or fighter cover is a little bit missing. Just maybe get in there, strike something, maybe sink something, allow it, my team to actually push in, make their life a little bit easier. At this particular time, I'm keeping my torpedo bombers a little bit further back, trying to look for that gap in protection, trying to keep most of the enemy bombers away from the majority of my enemy fleet, although unfortunately, if you take a look at the map, we do have 2 battleships that are kind of isolated. So naturally, the enemy CV is going to go and bomb that isolated battleship. All the while, of course, I'm looking at the map, I'm seeing that the enemy team is heavily committing into the B cap right now. So I'm noticing that that seems to be their direction of movement. They're all heading south, trying to get through B. So I tell the Des Moines on my team, the one in my division, to actually head north and just to go take C, hoping to at least maybe get 2 caps versus their 1, because right now I know for a fact that if I let things continue the way they are right now, the enemy team with their 2 cap advantage and their positioning most likely is going to win. So instead of having the Des Moines sit around spamming for damage, I tell them to commit to make a push to C. All the while here, I'm doing my best to try to find another opening to get another strike in here. Again, enemy battleships to the south there. Poor guy, completely by himself, gets absolutely wrecked by the Hakuryu. I see 2 puffs of smoke. I know there's a Missouri in there. I know there's other ships in there. But I do have to be patient. I do have to pick my moment before I decide to commit to anything. Enemy CV, his fighters, goes a little bit north. I bring my bombers a little bit south, a little bit closer to that puff of smoke closer to the island. Missouri pops up. I quickly look. I see the Friedrich de Grosser there too. Missouri is the best target to bomb. Why? Because the Missouri really has nowhere to go. He either goes back or he tries to go forward. So here I actually opt for a long-range torpedo bomb. I know the Missouri can't really move too much, and I also know that with that fighter there, he is going to strafe into the path where normally torpedo bombers would go to drop. So I drop a very, very long-range set of torpedoes here. And unfortunately, the Missouri, he didn't have any place to move, right? The choice was either to go forward, run into the island, or back out more. and battleships don't really move quickly in either direction. So I do manage to get some torpedoes off there at the beginning. I cause a flooding. I send the other two squadrons. There was a little bit of a control issue there the first time around. Two of the squadrons disengaged without dropping their torpedoes. So unfortunately, by going through all that A again, I lose a bunch more planes. Still managed to get 2 more torpedoes off, and these are, like I mentioned, really, really long-range torpedo drops. You don't normally do that unless you know that the enemy really has no place to go. Or in this case, I was trying to avoid a potential fighter strafe. Missouri is very, very low in terms of HP right now. He is, I believe, flooding as of the moment, but I'm still going to try to finish him off as quickly as I can. Who knows, maybe he pops off some kind of repair, maybe pops off something, keeps him alive longer. Get in there, bomb him, and take him out of the battle quickly. Alright, so there we go. Taking care of that Missouri. My team has finally decided to sort of push around. They're coming into the B cap hard now. Enemy team is also committed into this area as well, which is good because if you look at the map, Al Des Moines is just going all the way around quickly, going for the C cap, just trying to take that cap back for us. So we're not going to end up losing on cap, which to me is probably what's going to eventually decide this battle. Getting up another torpedo squadron. This time, as you can tell, I have very little reserves left. No fighters, no dive bombers. So take a look at my overall positioning. At this particular point as a carrier, I'm not exactly way far in the back somewhere trying to hide. I'm actually right up there with my team, and this has a lot to do with the fact that Hakuryu is an armored carrier. So again, what I'm going to try to do is as soon as my bombers are done, I'm going to actually get in there, support my team with both my AA, and also maybe just to provide the enemy with something else to shoot at while my battleships return and do damage to them. Get my torpedo bombers over to where the Friedrich the Gross is, look at the map, see the fighter coming in, know that another strafe is coming, quickly drop as many of my torpedoes as I can. Try really hard to get planes out of that strafe box, but you know, after dropping the planes, first execute one direction before another. That combined with the AA power of 2 battleships, the Minotaur and another strafe, and none of my bombers make it out of that one alive. My last 2 reserve torpedo bombers being loaded up. I'm going to get them up and maybe hit something, do a little bit more damage, but really right now the best thing I can do is follow my team in here, this Montana, this Friedrich the Gross, follow them in there, provide them with a little bit of defensive fire coverage. I'm doing this mostly because I know the Des Moines that I told to go over to the north, he's going to be out of action for a little bit. So my defensive fire bubble is probably going to be the thing that's going to protect these battleships from maybe getting attacked by torpedo bombers. So really want to get in there and offer what protection I can. My last 2 torpedo bombers, I'm trying to strike something. Probably in this case, it's going to be the Alabama. Trying to fly through that and the Minotaur's A probably would have lost me both aircraft. Still managed to get off 1 torpedo. Last torpedo bomber dies, so I'm all out of planes. Torpedo goes in there, clips the Alabama on the stern. There's my flooding, and there's a bit more damage. Now I go from playing as a carrier to playing more as a surface ship, and so I'm taking a look at my team real quickly. I'm noticing that the Friedrich on my team, he's pretty low. I'm noticing that the Missouri on my team is pretty low. So if I come in here, 1, I can provide them with AA, and 2, I can really provide the enemy with maybe something else to shoot at. Carriers do tend to be very tempting targets for a lot of people. So if I can take some damage away from those battleships, and those battleships are able to use their guns and do a bit more damage, that's extra damage that I myself can no longer do. The only weapons I really have are my secondaries, or maybe the 1 ram I'm able to pull off, although ramming is highly unlikely. I noticed that the Friedrich on my team is stuck on the island, so I go over there and I try to essentially shield him from the enemy team. In this particular situation, the enemy Alabama is well focused on me, and had the Alabama, let's say, saved a shot for another couple of seconds, got a shot in onto the superstructure area of the Friedrich, could have done a lot more damage. But instead, he shoots at me, which means the Friedrich is free to shoot back, getting a really beautiful hit there onto the Alabama, and you notice the Alabama is just really, really screwed there. So there we go, we're just pulling back another kill and just trying to buy my team whatever I can. Managed to block another shot over there from reaching the Friedrich, so that's good. Okay, so now I've jammed myself into this position. Enemy Kiev is coming out. Again, take a look at who the Kiev decides to shoot first. Like I mentioned, carriers are very, very tempting targets, even if they are in a situation like this where there's not much they can do anymore with no planes. But this Kiev laser focused onto me. Had that Kiev turned his attention onto somebody else, could have done maybe more important damage, but instead shoots me. I actually bounced most of his stuff because, you know, Hakuryu is armored. Yay, thanks. I actually took a shot from my own Friedrich. That was kind of nice. But in my position right now, that Kiev, he can get torpedoes on me, but he can't get torpedoes onto my Friedrich. So if he had come out and dropped torpedoes, I would essentially become the torpedo barrier for my battleship. But the Kiev doesn't actually drop anything and gets killed off by a combination of secondary fire and primary fire. Okay, so that's good. AA guns, unfortunately, don't reach out to that kind of range, so I'm not able to protect that other Alabama on my team from getting dropped on by the Hakuryu. Nothing I can do. Friedrich does take some damage here from the Bismarck, does get a very good return salvo into the Bismarck, so is able to stay around for that little bit longer. Bismarck actually turns away, eating a combination of secondary fire here from that Friedrich, but that Friedrich is not really long for this world. Alright, so that Bismarck gets his guns around once again. I'm on the receiving end of his secondary fire, gets in another shot here, finishes off that Friedrich der Grosse. Taking a quick look at the enemy scoreboard, they only have that one remaining Bismarck and that carrier, so of course I tried to turn myself into a giant torpedo, sacrifice myself, and maybe go and get a ram, but unfortunately enemy CV comes in here, manages to drop torpedoes on me, and that is the end of my battle here. I do take down another 4 of his planes, and that battleship there gets wiped out by the other battleships on my team. So now my team has 3 remaining battleships and that one Des Moines that I'd sent north. Now he's going to come back and he's basically going to nullify that carrier. We're going to take all the caps and we're going to wrap up this win. And that pretty much does it in terms of the battle here. I do want to say good game to the enemy carrier here. 199909. I don't remember how many nines are in his name, but very well played, by the way. You were a real difficult challenge, and also to your buddy in the miniature there, really good positioning, just making my life hell. Both of you played very, very well, and it would be absolutely a pleasure to cross swords with you again. Although maybe next time I'll just end up on your team so I don't have to work as hard. Yeah, anyways, fantastic battle. For the people who were in chat, and were in this battle, this is actually how the battle unraveled. Your CV did the absolute best job that your CV could, and this was not an easy win by any stretch of the imagination. Enemy carrier does get off one more drop onto our Montana, but by this point in time, Siki has come back in his Des Moines, pops defensive fire, and basically that strike amounted to not all that much. And then that's it. I mean, our team wraps up, the points tick up, and we were able to claim victory in this battle. Now, before I would just cut here and jump to a score screen, but unfortunately I didn't take screenshots of the first score screen, so the end result for me was 171k damage. I got 22 torpedo hits, 9 floodings, shot down only 18 aircraft, got 3 kills. This was from Siki's stream, so I pulled off my results screen at the end. Base experience 2,251. If you take a look at the enemy team, on the losing team, the Hakuryu there was top of the team, so just tremendous job there. And it's actually 4-9, so I think I was right the first time around. But take a look as well at that miniature there, 30 plane kills combined with 32 on that Hakuryu, making my life just really, really difficult all the way around. But guys, very nicely played. And I hope you guys enjoyed a good CV battle. It's been a while since I've been able to show one of these. Aside from all that, folks, take care, have yourselves a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again really, really soon.